This is the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
I just wanted to mention this wonderful letter from Steve in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's about his son who was ordained a priest. I had the great honor last Friday to attend the ordination mass of my eldest son, Daniel. He was ordained, he was deacon, a transitional deacon. I don't like that phrase. You'll forgive me. We have permanent deacons and transitional deacons. I think you just have deacons. There are some who are not intended nor intending to go on to be ordained as presbyters, as priests, but they are no more or less deacons than those who are transitional. I really believe in the diaconate. I think that the diaconate is very much part of the way that the Holy Spirit designed the early church. It's a Hebrew concept that the synagogue attendant was, I think it's the shamash, which really means helper. And diakonos is the Greek word for a steward, like a minister. The word minister, that means a servant, not a slave necessarily, but probably. Diakonos is the Greek. Diakonos means a table waiter. Minister is the Latin. It means table waiter. And I think that's very important for you to understand the etymology of the word, because people say, well, my ministry. And it makes one sound very, very grand. I have a ministry. No, that means your table service. What tables are you waiting? I remember a person who was rather grand, a Spanish speaker who had actually taken a couple of law courses, so he thought he was very well educated. When I was explaining this to a board, on which I said, there's a reason they call them board meetings, but I digress. I said, well, the deacon means table waiter. He says, well, Father, in our language, that's rather a demeaning term, mesero in Spanish. I said, it is in Greek, too. It means table waiter, and it was usually a slave. So St. Paul's bragging about his table service, his diakonia in certain places, that sort of thing. So that table service is part of holy orders. I really think it's an important part of holy orders. And I think a lot of what a parish priest is expected to do is diakonia. It's the service of table waiting. And I'm a deacon. I was ordained a deacon. I didn't lose the character of the diaconate, but I was ordained a presbyter. And it's very interesting. It sounds rather arrogant when the apostles say, it's not fitting for us to wait on table. Let us appoint deacons. And so they appointed 7 table waiters to arbit the disputes about who gets what among the Greek speakers and among the Aramaic speakers. So you see that in the Acts of the Apostles. I've been at masses where I'll never forget. There was a woman who I think she was a theology teacher, and her ministry at that mass was to share the prayers of the faithful. No one included me in, and I looked around. Nobody's sharing the prayers of the faithful, so I read the prayers of the faithful. She was furious with me that I had taken her ministry. I'd taken her table waiting. And I am so grateful for the real deacons I have had. I think of 2 in particular. John Green, who now lives in Ohio, and Deacon John Chick-O'Leary, who were real deacons. They believed in their ministry, and it was truly their ministry. But I digress. Let's get back to good old Steve. He was just so proud of it. And the next day there was a morning mass at the home parish. He preached his first homily. It was less formal, but still parts of the mass were sung. Mass was followed by a brunch reception. And several people came up to my wife, and I remarked that we must be so proud of Daniel. I was tempted to say I'm proud of all of my sons. That is exactly the reason I bring this. My mother, when they would come, say, you must be so proud to have a son who's a priest. She would say, I'm proud of all my children. That she understood that we were doing what we believed God had called us to do. That, well, it's my right to this. No, it's not. It's your calling. It's a gift. You can join me and listen on the Relevant Radio app to Father Simon Says live each weekday at 1 o'clock Central. And thanks for listening.